And now when we're looking at the H-1B visa and all the things that are happening around it, for more on that, we have Sudhanshu Kaushik. He's the founder, North America Association of Indian Students, joining me. And Sudhanshu, thank you so much for joining in. As an Indian residing in the US, what's your initial reaction when you see this $100,000 fee on the H-1B visas?
Jessica, my initial reaction was much different to my reaction now after it's been clarified. At first, I thought, this is America First policy. They're trying to, give more Americans jobs. I don't agree with it, but that's what the process was. Now that I look back, now that I see the clarification, what is clear to me is that there was an intent to create chaos. There was an intent to create distrust and atmosphere among Indians that are H-1Bs, that a sentiment that you don't belong here, and that in a stroke of a pen, from the executive office, form an executive order, you can disrupt people's lives. I don't understand, Jessica. There was about a 18-hour gap between the first executive order that was signed at the White House and this clarification that came through X or whatever means. And it caused massive hysteria among everyone, whether it was the immigration lawyers, whether that was within India, but also specifically the families that are H-1B holders. Think about it. I have been talking about the stats and statistics. I could tell you hundreds of billions of dollars are contributed in taxes from Indian Americans. I could tell you the trillions of dollars of economic output. But are we also going to talk about the human impact, the value, the disruption that it's caused between families? I mean, we're hearing stories and we've seen videos of people, deboarding planes and flights because they're not sure if they'll be coming back. We've always constantly heard of stories of how people and Indians can't go back to the last rites of their parents and their family members because they're too scared they won't be allowed back. Why has the system been so convoluted and such a chaotic mess, regardless of whatever administration is here, where families and individuals on H-1Bs sometimes have to choose between performing the last rites of their family members and being able to stay in their country and making sure that their dependents, their children, are not kicked out. I mean, these are the choices that an individual has to make. So it's not that it was rosy before January 5th, 2024 or 2025, um, but it's definitely a place of realization that you're not welcome here. And if you are, you're welcomed in your own terms. And whenever the administration decides that they want to take us out, they can do so.
Right, and you're talking about the kind of economic fallout that it could have, because as you mentioned, Indian Americans are contributing so much to the Indian economy. What kind of message do you think then it sends to the skilled immigrants and their families?
Look, there is boundless economic impact. I've been on India Today and talked and spoken about, and many people will talk about the American dream, quote unquote, but also the realization of Indians to be able to prosper. Um, I could talk about, again, the hundreds of billions of dollars that will be impacted just by students who come here in pursuit of an H-1B to be able to work, who probably won't be able to now think or second triple guess about spending 60 to $80,000 in tuition in hopes that they'll be able to earn that back through jobs. I could talk about the economic value that people in big tech or small specific niche firms that create, and they're doing business both for India and for the US. But look, we have to go beyond the numbers. There is an economic impact, of course, but what about the impact on these lives? And the money is obviously a huge thing when it comes to India and US relations, but we really have to start thinking about the people. We have to start thinking about the children. We have to start thinking about how much impact these people are going to go through if this disruption continues to exist. Look, I was always told that Donald Trump makes a good deal. That's what we told. He loves a good deal. How is this a good deal? All of this is, it's not listening to big tech because big tech wants these H-1Bs. It's not listening to the big corporates or small people who benefit off of the H-1B, the families, the people. What it's listening to is a very small vocal community of Americans who are MAGA, that support and have the ideals of nativism, of immigration restrictionists, and they want to make it as complicated and as tough for Indians to be able to thrive here, to be able to live here, to be able to do their job. That's what they're working. They're working a 9 to 5 job, and they're economically capable and they're skilled enough to do so. And so we have to start thinking this is not as a zero sum game. That if Indians benefit, Americans do not, or native, the people that are actually the white population, if they, it's not a zero sum game. Both can coexist and have been. And I think that we need to stop making policy based off of a small local minority group on Twitter. And we need to make sure we're making policies based off of what is best for America. And I 100% believe that when Indian Americans and also H-1B holders and in general immigrants are able to thrive, then America thrives as well. Those two things are not disassociated, and they're not. They're both that work mutually.
Right, you're talking about the impact that it's had on people, and I can totally imagine because there was so much chaos and confusion with the back and forth happening. And what are some of the immediate disruptions that you expect for the Indian tech professionals, both in the US and as well as in India?
Look, the biggest one is going to be the mistrust, right? There was a faith in the system, and people have realized that in one executive order, you can completely disrupt someone's life, right? Now that they've clarified, but that distrust and that disbelief, to be honest, has already seeded in. So I think, first of all, people are going to really reevaluate that. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to go to a foreign country? Is it worth it, specifically the United States? Is it worth it to take those risks when you know that overnight your economic opportunity and employment and your visa status is at risk because there's an administration that really wants to promote restrictionist policies. So I think people are going to take those chances less and try to see what else can be done. And, I'm not sure if they're all going to go back to India again. I think they're going to find other opportunities in Canada. They're going to try to find opportunities in the UK. They're going to try to find opportunities in the Gulf. They're going to try to make sure that they can stabilize, they can have a stable life, and be able to work and where they feel valued. I also think this is going to be a huge shock to higher education because yes, the executive order that's out now, it's grandfathered in, so the people already here are hopefully going to be fine unless he signs another executive order negating everything he said, which honestly would not be surprising to me at this point. But right now, the students who are going to come in to study, right, when they graduate, right, and after they do their OGB, those are the students who are going to have to suffer through if someone wants to employ me, they're going to have to pay $100,000. And so you have to think about if someone is coming in and they're in a very niche basically employment opportunity, is their company going to be able to afford $100,000 plus their salary of 60, 75, 80, $100,000? No, not at all. So it's going to disrupt the US higher education system as it has been. And this higher education system has been really beneficial to the United States.
Right. So we can see that while the students are going to be affected, they might just choose, other destinations. Why go to the US? Because you could just head to Germany or any other country where you don't have to pay such a hefty amount of fees. Thank you so much for joining in, Sudhanshu. This was really insightful. It was great talking to you. Thank you for giving us, insights as an Indian American residing there.